This episode is brought to you by Muntins Malts, a company that is passionate about providing premium malts to brewers worldwide. For over a century, Muntins has been a leading supplier of brewing and distilling malts, offering the finest British malted barley on the market. You can experience the difference Muntins offers by joining a recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club, because every kit that ships out now includes premium Muntins malt. You know, we've known the Muntins crew for a long time, and I can tell you, friend, you're going to love brewing with their grains. Ask your local supply shop to carry Muntins malts, or homebrewers can join our Trub Club at homebrewhappyhour.com/club. Be a part of the community and come brew with us. Thank you, Muntins, for supporting our efforts and homebrewers worldwide. Today's show is brought to you by hopsdirect.com. Grown in the esteemed Yakima Valley on the Pewterball family farm, hopsdirect.com offers the widest variety of hops available online at incredibly competitive pricing. It's simple. They grow hops, they sell hops, and they ship hops straight from their family-owned farm to your doorstep. Producing the highest quality hops is hopsdirect.com's passion, and they're proud to be an independent grower in the craft beer industry. Go to hopsdirect.com right now and get what you need to make your brew day better. That's hopsdirect.com. Today's show is brought to you by Imperial Yeast. You hear us gushing over Imperial Yeast all the time, and that's because their yeast performs for us in every batch that we brew. Imperial Yeast is adored by commercial breweries and home brewers alike. Their pitch-right pouches are jam-packed with over 200 billion fresh yeast cells, guaranteed to deliver flawless, fast fermentations every time. Imperial Yeast strains are grown by a team of pro brewers and home brewers who live to help other brewers learn more and ferment better. Join any recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club and get a free upgrade to premium Imperial Yeast with every recipe kit that ships out to you. Learn more at homebrewhappyhour.com/club and come brew with us.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
Fermenting for usable CO2, selecting hose for secondary regulators, Pellicle in my fermenter but not in my keg yet, and how to know if a fermenter can handle pressure. This is Homebrew Happy Hour, episode 389. Well, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. And if you, my friend, have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, you could go to homebrewhappyhour.com. You could click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or even better, call it in, leave a voicemail at our hotline, 325-305-6107. And if we use your question on a future episode, you're going to get yourself a $25 gift card to kegconnection.com. I'm one of your hosts, Joshua Stewman, joined as always by the Director of Operations at cmbecker.com right over there, Mr. James Carlson, and the President and Chief Keg Washer of kegconnection.com down there, Mr. Todd Burns. Gentlemen, how's it going?
Wonderful. Yeah.
Wonderful? That's good. I like hearing wonderful. Yeah. Wonderful's good. It is a good day. I was talking to a buddy of mine, the training buddy, and we were talking about how I feel like last summer, it is humid right now, but I feel like last summer we were already in like a week or two of triple digits. I don't think we've hit triple digits yet, have we?
We have. Yeah.
Oh, did y'all really up there?
We have nothing but triple digits for the next 10 days, for the next 10 days, and that's just what's on the forecast.
No way. Oh, okay.
No,
See, look at me. Well, right now it says here in St. Marcus it's 90, and we don't have a triple digit for till Monday. The high is all week is like 96, 98, 98. All right. Either way,
we got 102 tomorrow.
Very happy for you.
102, 104 Tuesday.
No kidding.
And that's solid hundreds all the way for the next 10 days.
Oh, you know what though? Here's what I will say is, and that's the actual temperature, right? Not feels like, because mine does say it's 90 here, but it says feels like 101. Which again, I understand wind chill. That explanation makes sense to me. Heat index has never made sense to me.
Humidity.
Okay, so
the more humid it is, the less your body can cool down. So it feels a lot hotter, and it becomes a lot more dangerous too. So with a certain amount of humidity and heat, your body almost can't cool down, So,
okay. See,
unless you have a swimming pool and you just live in that for the whole summer.
I need to include on the soundboard the do 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 more sound, because I would love to put that right there. I learn something new every day with you, Mr. Burns.
You know what? They've changed the forecast. It looks like now on Saturday it's only going to be 99, so our temperature went back down a little bit.
And where you literally are, the ranch that is, it's more dry, right? So is your actual temp usually feels like?
It's been humid lately though. So it says right now the humidity's 42, but it's going to be 64 tonight. So it's in that range, whereas where you live, I'm sure is
I wonder what it says. A
lot more humid. Here. Oh yeah,
see right 64,
53 and 80% is what it's saying.
That's what it's saying here. Yeah,
for you. So that you're quite a bit more humid.
Yeah, I could stick my cigars outside, huh? With the temperature would wreck them. But anyway, enough of the weather report. We do have some.
Yeah, this is weather happy hour.
And you'll notice though, it's the most involved in the small talk you will be without complaining. So I was just gonna let it keep going. I was like, Todd, normally I bring up something that's not relevant at all, and you're like, oh, do we have questions for this week?
I'm a Burns, my dad. Like my dad. One of my favorite. I told my dad this yesterday, actually, when I saw him. I was like, one of my favorite things I like to say about my dad is that when a drought, do you know when a drought begins?
No.
The day after it rains.
Oh,
I mean, as soon as it stops raining, my dad's like, we're in a drought again. So.
I do have that on the board. Here we go. Okay. We have, before I get into actually business, I want Todd to talk about, so we have been, obviously we all brew. I have a batch I'm about to transfer into the serving keg of that Mosaic Smash IPA, which was last month's Trub Club recipe of the month. This month we're brewing an alt. I'll get into that here in a little bit. Todd brewed 17 gallons of Kolsch, and Imperial Dieter went to town, absolute motorboat. You had to stop it at 10:06, and then you let it cold condition for what, 2 weeks is what it's been?
No, longer than that.
3 weeks. 3 weeks. But what happened recently when you were getting ready to check it?
All that cold conditioning wasn't for much, because my glycol chiller, somebody turned the pump off on it. And I don't know if it was somebody in my barn that maybe hit it. I've had a lot of people staying there, but it was off when I came in. So I was like, oh, the pump's off. I'm going to turn it back on. I came back last night and I was like, wait a minute, the pump's on and it says it's 72 degrees or whatever it was. And it was all done, so it didn't seem to affect anything. But basically the glycol chiller completely froze up. So I have a frozen glycol chiller.
Did you mean to insinuate it could have been me? Because you kind of slowed down.
I did not. Okay. So we've had people there since you. So maybe they accidentally hit it, or I could have hit it, or the dog may have hit it. I have no idea. But somebody hit that button, and anyway, it was off, so it's frozen. My beer got a little too hot, and when I started to transfer it yesterday, all of my cold conditioning was for nothing. As far as the settling part of it, I shouldn't say for nothing, but it's still conditioned. But it was, the beer was so warm that I'm sure what it was doing was kind of foaming and moving around as I transferred. So I could just see the chunks of yeast and other crap and hops coming through the hose. So the first keg had a lot in it. The second keg and the third keg were a lot better, but still a lot moved in there. But again, it's something I'm not terribly worried about because I'm putting them in a keg. I'm going to let them sit, and then I will probably transfer from one keg to the other unless the dip tube clogs up. And then I'm going to try a float it in there and see what that's like. So I might even do that tonight. I might just, for the grins, I might put it on there and see if it makes any difference this quickly. I don't know.
That is actually like a best case field testing scenario to see if you're really going to put it to the test in regards to, is this thing going to filter or is it not? Because
absolutely.
We have a lot of those in stock too. Just for everybody to know, we have 60.
Good, and we've been selling them like hotcakes. It's been nice seeing them flying off the shelf. We appreciate our buddy Tron. He's been on the show a couple times, and he actually, I told Todd about this. He has a new product that he's talked about on the show, that pot a brew that he's coming out with, and I think we're just drop shipping it. We're not carrying it in stock, but he is so excited about it. James, as well as Todd does, you get Tron on the phone, and 2 hours later, you're like, "Hey, Tron, I gotta go back to work." So
he's very
enthusiastic
about his products.
So
and, it's just him and his wife that do that. So
and so passionate. Oh, Todd, go ahead.
So one quick question for you, Josh, since you're the expert on this.
I am.
Why would I use one size dip tube versus the other? What's the reason for the smaller little bitty dip tube versus the one that the hose is on now?
The one he's calling the Matt's Headspace is just in case you are trying to get the volume all the way up to the top, and if some people that matters to them.
My volume's definitely all the way to the top on these.
Well,
I literally filled them to where there was foam coming out and then let them settle and filled it some more, and then I filled them under pressure. I would say I'm pretty confident there's more than 5 gallons in all 3 of these.
Since I have it on my desk, it's good timing. That's why I don't even change out my post. Like, you're probably going to change out the post for holding that. I've been using the lid that we have with the barb on it, and I put it obviously.
So you don't even use this?
I put it on the lid.
That's what I'll do too. That'd be a lot easier.
It is for me. It is.
We sell that, right?
We do, and actually, that's funny enough. Product promo that I was going to do this week. Why does it always do that on my face for the camera? The Ultimate Keg Accessory Bundle. Link is in the description below. If you're at youtube.com/homebrew happy hour or whatever podcast platform you're listening this to, you'll see it in the show notes below. It is a $99.95. It comes with the Ultimate Keg Accessory Bundle. It comes in pinlock or ball lock versions. It has that fermenting lid, like a true fermenting lid with the air bubbler, and it also has a floating dip tube lid, and it also has a quick carbonating lid. It also has a transfer tube, liquid to liquid, for when, like what we all have been doing, where if you have a keg you're fermenting in and you want to transfer to the serving keg, that kind of jumper line, as we call it, makes it so much easier. And it comes with the spunding valve. All of that stuff. Do the math, guys. At retail value, you cannot beat $99.95. Kegconnection.com.
You should do a slide of that.
It is up. It was on the screen.
You're gone. I can't hear you anymore.
James, Todd, can y'all hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I don't know what happened to Todd. He's out. Technology is hard for Mr. Burns down there. Can you really not hear us?
No, you were gone. When you said, "Can you hear me?" It says your internet is unstable.
Oh, your internet's unstable. My wife is unstable. Anyways, that's a whole different thing. I'm kidding, honey. She doesn't listen to the show. But Ultimate Keg Accessory Bundle. Yeah, we do sell that lid with a floating dip tube, and then I switched out that floating dip tube for the floated. Both are great products. I just needed the filtration, especially serving this beer that was so dry hopped. I just want to make sure I'm not getting hop particulates in my teeth like I've done before in the past when I wasn't using a floating dip tube and I dry hopped direct into the serving keg. It was a mess. Love and miss Joe Ermis, but worst advice he's ever given me in my life. Just drop in the hops, bro. It's fine. No, it was not. It was terrible. After like 25 pours, then it started getting better. But anyway, also relevant small talk, like you kind of heard me say this month, if you want to brew the Dusseldorf Altstadt Alt beer, this is your final call. Go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour. Join a recipe receiving tier. And this is also my time to confess, my friends. They have not shipped out yet. First off, the yeast was delayed. It didn't come in last week, and it's not coming till Friday of this week.
Came in today.
Oh, shut up. Okay, Todd forwarded me the UPS. Hey, okay, beautiful.
Yeah, she dropped off because she always got to come in and see Gracie. So she come in to pet Gracie, and she said, "You need to order more yeast." So she was talking about being able to see Gracie more. So
that's fantastic. I'm so glad it came in because the tracking said expect it Friday, and I was freaking out like they shipped it on a Tuesday, and now it's sitting in a hot truck potentially or whatever. They do 2-day, which James, you're the one who had told me originally. UPS, because Kekenetchen is rural, they changed now the delivery to Monday, Wednesday, Friday only, and so. I don't know if overnight or 2-day is affected by that. I sure hope not. It seems like it wasn't this time because we did get it today on a Wednesday. Well, pardon me. Wednesday is a delivery day for them. I guess we'll never know until if they ship it on a Tuesday or whatever.
Yeah.
But either way, I'm so happy it came in. Perfect. Well, either way, if you go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour and join a recipe receiving tier, you will get this. And everyone who's in the club, get your tracking number soon when I'm able to do the day trip and get those shipped out. Also, when you're listening to this on Thursday, the 27th, it's going down Brew Day Live with my pop at youtube.com/homebrew happy hour, brewing that Dusseldorf Altstadt Alt beer live in color on the interwebs. Thank you to our sponsors who support the recipe of the month and everything we do over here. Hopsdirect.com, Imperial Yeast, and Munton's Malt. We could not do what we do without their support, and more specifically, we couldn't do it without your support. Every member of our patreon.com/homebrew happy hour Trub Club is deeply appreciated and cherished by us. We so sincerely appreciate it. And then, speaking of the alt, one last thing. I'm so sorry. Alt Pokal, Alt Beer World Championships. The registration is live right now. altpokal.com, ALTPOKAL.com. It is going down. We have had 15 or 18. Hold on, let me look real quick. Tap, 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 tap. 18 registrations right now out of the 40, and it's not even happening until October 24th through 26th. But the reason we bring it up now is so that you have plenty of time to brew your alt beer, let it condition. Time is an alt beer's friend when you're cold crashing. I think it clears it up, helps it mellow down. It's going to taste real good when you get it to us, and you can find all the details again at altpokal.com. Reserve your spot right now. Trub Club members get a heavy discount for registration. And for anyone noticing that registration went up to 50 for non-Trub Club and 30 for Trub Club, that's literally just covering the difference in what shirts cost us now and shipping. I promise. If this was a money-making endeavor, I'd be doing a recipe competition every month. I promise. But with shipping, it is, and again, I'm preaching to the choir when I complain about this because James does this every day. Shipping's nuts, dude. Shipping is nuts. Like, it's so silly how much shipping went up, and then everything just gone up. Like the t-shirt people, oh yeah, there's a 3% increase in cost. Like, why? Oh, just to keep up with everything else that goes up. It's like, okay, that kind of makes sense, but it also bothers me because it's like, I guess, everything gets passed along down the line anyway. That's the bummer. Something goes up and then everything now down the line goes up. So anyways, you could always go to homebrewhappyhour.com just homebrewhappyhour.com for all the details on all this stuff, or follow us on social media everywhere you go. YouTube here, subscribe, like, blah, 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 blah. Todd, you look distressed. Did you want to say something before I went into the questions?
Oh, are you done? Yeah. Yeah, I'm having a little trouble getting it back together. I can't quite decide how it seals in the bottom. I have to pull one that's together already.
On a float it.
Make sure I'm doing it right.
Are you talking about the dip tube, or what are you talking about?
Oh, no, the screens. I was looking at all the screen stuff.
Yeah, we can go over that afterwards. Yeah. And we don't got to do it right now. So with all that being said, I do not have listener feedback, but we do have 4 questions for this week's episode. And the first one is a voicemail. It's our buddy Nate from Oregon.
Hey guys, it's Nate from Oregon. I was listening to your first interview with Trong, and he mentioned, I believe when he was in Thailand trying to demonstrate his all-in-one brew system, that he wasn't able to get CO2, but he talked about rigging up a secondary keg fermenting apple cider in order to provide pressure to serve his beer. My question is, if someone were to do this, do you think flavors would get carried over into the beer? Do you think because it's gas only, we wouldn't be able to tell? And have you ever tried something like this? I'm intrigued by the idea. It'd be kind of a cool trick to have in your tool bag in case there's ever a shortage or a time that you didn't have a chance to make it out to air gas or wherever you get your CO2. Curious to hear what you guys think. Thanks. You're doing a great job. Bye.
Nate, thank you so much for the question. And it is a fun kind of thought exercise. I mean, ideally, the three of us, specifically speaking, will never have that shortage of like, oh, I have to be resourceful, because I am not resourceful or handy. Ask my family, ask my boss. But Tron did in that episode.
You never know.
Yeah.
You never know. when the bomb could go off. That's the only way we can get CO2.
You've told me, though, when the bomb goes off and I'm begging at the property, you're going to let the kids in and you're going to snipe me. I think that was an exact quote from you. I think you're like, yeah, your family can stay.
You misunderstood.
Or you said maybe I'd make a good mule for carrying the cart. I forget what you said.
It's one of my favorites. I actually tell it all the time. I love the story because I said, I'm going to need someone on a plow. And you were like, hey, if I need to stand behind horses and do a plow, then I can do that. I was like, yeah, I don't have any horses, dude.
Yeah, you are the mule, Joshua. But anyways, for the question, yeah, Tron is extremely, he's got some ingenuity to him, and he was in a pickle. He was trying to demonstrate a thing, and they couldn't source CO2 for him. And so he made a batch of cider, and he captured that CO2 to transfer into the other keg for serving. And honestly, I don't know the mechanics of it in regards to if you can just use, I guess you have to have a spunding valve, right? To regulate what the pressure is going out, or you could just go gas to whatever post you wanted to, and it would just automatically take it. But the premise of Nate's question, though, James, I'm going to throw it to you first. What do you think in regards to aroma and or flavors coming from the thing that you have brewed for the sake of capturing CO2? Do you think those would carry over?
Well, I mean, I guess it's possible. The thing about it is it's cider. So, do they use a different type of yeast, or do they use?
That's a good question.
I mean, because if it's more like a sour, then you sure want to be careful you don't infect the other batch of beer with, anything like that.
No, that's a great point. Yeah, like because it would obviously bacteria is going to be coming through.
If it's using any kind of lacto or that kind of stuff to ferment, if it's using regular yeast, I think you'd be all right. I probably would put an inline filter. We got those little round ones when I was doing oxygen. We were anyway, I can't think of the name. Total brain.
Yeah, me too. I don't remember. I don't remember when you got it was you oxygenating.
Oxygenating a pretty high gravity beer. I just wanted to make sure we were able to, I didn't want to start fermentation due to high ABV. So I don't know. I used to have, but anyway, you can get them on Amazon. They're little round inline filters just to keep any kind of tube or anything like that to get in there. But you definitely use a splunding valve, and then the out. I guess you could use the out for the splunding valve to the in on the gas side, or that's I've never thought about doing that.
It's a crazy thought exercise. Yeah. And Todd, I'm curious for your thoughts too, in regards to either like the batch size that'd be necessary. Or what kind of CO2 pressure do you even think a batch could generate for you to capture if you had to put it into PSI, like the equivalent of, we could off that 5-gallon batch of cider or 2-gallon batch of cider, I was able to capture, 40 PSI into the other keg, or I don't know if I'm wording that right.
You're really capturing volume more than PSI. So, if you had that's where if you were pressure fermenting and you had that other vessel and you could allow it to build up pressure. I mean, you could even do sugar water, right? If that's the whole point of you were doing that, is that you're just, with yeast on it, you're just trying to get something to make CO2. If you had a pressure vessel and you could build up the pressure, you could dispense a lot. A good example would be on my fermenter when I'm transferring over like I did yesterday. A lot of times I'll turn the CO2 off on the tank long before I'm done because that pressure and that giant fermenter will push quite a bit through without having to add additional from the CO2 bottle. So yeah, you could. I mean, it would. I'd have to. I just can't see a scenario where I would do that unless things got really bad and there was no more CO2 and you had to. But then you're probably gonna. I hate to admit it, you're probably going to bottle at that point, right? Because if you keg, how are you going to, yeah. Anyway, we could go on I could go on for a long time about this, probably longer than you want to hear.
Yeah, no, not me. I love dragging out questions, but obviously our friends at Imperial Yeast, I would say like, oh yeah, get a thing to flat chip or whatever. But realistically, this is probably best sort of infomercial for the reason why you should store like SAO5 in bulk, because that's probably a good yeast to use, right, James, in regards to creating something. If you're going to be fermenting for the sake of just capturing CO2, something neutral just to be safe is what I would want to do anyway. Like you said, I have no idea if this cider, if it was whatever, if the aroma came over.
In fact, Imperial has a sparkling water yeast that's the whole purpose of it is for it to just be fairly neutral. Or since you're using room temperature, you can use most lager yeast is clean. Under pressure, it should be the same. So you could use, but I would definitely use something really neutral so it doesn't impart any flavors from what you're doing. But just doing sparkling water would take care of that immediately. You just make some sparkling water.
Some hard seltzer.
Yeah, like
Todd said, the sugar water. But again, though, you could kill, in theory, right, Todd, you could kill two birds with one stone if you're like, you know what, I'd like to have a cider on tap.
I mean, because, you can't really make, you got to have CO2 to make sparkling water.
Well, he meant hard cider.
Fermented, right?
Well, that's what he meant.
That's what I'm assuming that you're going to be fermenting in the water to get sparkling water.
I would use whatever, I would use anything to get that beer out of that keg at that point. If there was no way to get the beer out of the keg, right?
I would I would open it up and just carry the keg.
But then it's going to become decarbed. I mean, you got to use, I would probably use the, infected beer, anything. I'd use anything to get it out at some point. All I'm doing is pushing it out. I just got to drink it real fast before it comes infected, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's kind of a silly. It's fun to speculate.
It's a fun thought exercise, and this is where I solicit. Well, first, I'll get Tron's input on it on a future episode. No doubt he'll be back on the show. But also, if you're watching at youtube.com/homebrew happy hour, let us know what you would do in this situation, what you would ferment, and why you would ferment it. Just for the sake of capturing the CO2, leave it in the show notes at youtube.com/homebrew happy hour. Or if you're an audio only listener and you want to get a gift card, we're desperate right now. I'm down to like less than a dozen questions of voicemail, just a dozen voicemails. I don't know if they're feedback or questions, to be fair. And I don't know if they're redundant or not. So that's not necessarily 12 usable. So call it in to 325-305-6107. If it's great feedback, we'll put it on a future episode. If it's a question that's unique and probably hasn't been answered before, it'll definitely get on the show and get yourself a $25 gift card to kegconnection.com. Alternatively, you could text that hotline or email joshua@homebrewhappyhour.com and still get yourself a $15 gift card, which I think is pretty stinking good still. Like our second question, a very short and sweet email from our buddy Ken, and he wrote me saying, Josh, what tubing would you recommend for use if I'm adding secondary regulators? Do I have to use any kind of special high pressure hose like this? And then Todd, I sent you that email, and he linked to the siphon and high pressure that we use for creating distance between your primary and what your tank and your primary. Pardon me. The hose he listed, and I'll put it in the show notes just for the sake of people who want to know what we're talking about will be able to see what we're talking about. But it is not the tubing you'd use for secondaries. It is a specific high pressure line for connecting to your CO2 when you got to go some distance to then the actual primary body of your regulator. But it's still a good question to discuss on the show because we have been real pushy and showcasing secondary options lately. as people grow their draft system or the styles that they want to serve on their draft system or whatever, one of the most common upgrades after faucets would certainly be adding regulators, and secondaries is what you'd be adding more than likely. So Todd, for tubing, is there a recommended one you have? Is there tubing you'd say stay away from, and here's why? Like, what are your thoughts on Ken's question?
I mean, just standard gas tubing like you would use for when you were going from your primary to an air distributor or doing, you would just use the same tubing because it's always low pressure. So low pressure meaning 60 PSI or less when I say low pressure. High pressure meaning with a CO2 cylinder, it could, 800 PSI. So, or more if it was warm. So yeah, you can basically just use standard gas hose, either 5/16 or 1/4 inch ID inside diameter, and that would work fine. I did you're talking about secondary regulators. It reminds me of something. And so we're working on a new video right now, but I put that kegerator at my pool, and it's got a drink for Liz, a watermelon seltzer, and it has 2 beers right now, but I might put sparkling water up there at some point so that we have a beer, a sparkling water, and something for Liz and anybody else that would prefer a sparkling beverage over beer.
Gin and soda, perhaps?
Crazy people. But anyway, it was very neat because I was like, oh, I should use GovRegs on this. And I had this idea of what I was going to do. And I'm like, I don't have to do anything. I just cut the 3 lines off, stick the GovReg on the end, and I'm done. It was so quick and easy. It was just amazing. And we'll do that video. It was kind of a spoiler alert because it was so easy. But, it's at first I was coming up with different things. And I'm like, I don't have to do anything. I just cut the ends, and now I have 3 regulators. And one question, or one other way I could have done it, and I thought about this, was let's say I have the sparkling water and another higher pressure. I could have put 2 GovRegs on there if I had wanted beer, and then use the higher pressure to set it for the sparkling water, and come off. So I have a air distributor, which I already have in there with 3 lines. So two of the lines I would put a GovReg on the end, and the other one I wouldn't put anything on the end, and then I turn it up to 35, 40 PSI, whatever I'm going to do the sparkling water, and it takes care of all 3. So I wouldn't have to have 3 GovRegs. I just put 3 on there because that way, no matter what I put in there, I can change the pressure and I don't ever have to worry about it.
They are super convenient. And someone did point out to me in a text message. So I'm super accessible at 325-305-6107 because I'm addicted to my cell phone. It's actually, I've gotten 2 texts to that hotline since we've been recording. Customer service type stuff, not for the podcast. But someone did message me, Todd. It was funny because they go, Todd talked so endearingly about GovReg, and he means it because you are CM Becker International, and you sometimes are pushing GovReg before the secondary from CM Becker. So it was just a funny.
That's true.
Yeah, it was just kind of a funny observation. They're like, because you do believe. Listen, not to throw the CM Becker one. We believe in it so much at kegconnection.com. It's got a 5-year warranty behind it. So that is.
Well, but you still need a primary CM Becker to run the GovReg.
Yeah, right.
So
for sure.
But I mean, it's not that the CM Becker is great and it's a wonderful secondary, but in the situations that we're talking about, it's so easy
correct
to add that GovReg at the end because you don't have to have a bank. Think about this, there's 3 kegs in this kegerator box. It's, and it's not that big. You start adding 3 bodies in there and mounting them somewhere, you're taking up a lot of space.
Yeah, James, you get the call a lot from people like, I want duo-tight this and that. And I had an email in the help where they're like, I want to save space. And so they showed me y'all were on that whole thing. Remember maybe a year ago or 6 months ago, the guy who wanted a custom, he was going to make a bank of like 6 to 9.
Yeah, sure. I remember.
Y'all, yeah. And, now, if that same thing came in, it'd be able to, if you're really trying to save space, that's where GovReg, because that bank of duotites is still a bank of duotites you're mounting into a space. It takes up a lot of real estate in your kegerator or keys.
Yeah, I just don't. I mean, I like them, but I just don't think they're as reliable.
I don't like them. I mean, not because it's competition. I like the convenience when I can.
Oh, well, we sell them. I mean,
exactly. That's what I'm saying. I just
people buy a lot of them.
Now, some separation from people who purchased it like a year or two ago to updating like on the internet, on Reddit threads or homebrewtalk.com, those kinds of things. If you see, there are a lot of people who are like, man, I've already had to replace it, or oh, they leaked, or oh yeah, I left it soaking in sanitizer for a minute too long and it cracked. And yeah, I mean, there is some sacrifices you make. Well, yeah, Todd's holding up a GovReg if you're watching.
So these things, I mean, it's metal. So, I mean, there's the moving parts in there are basically a spring. I mean, it's such a simple design that it just they don't go out. I mean, they just keep working and stay on pressure, and yeah.
Right.
Makes
absolutely.
A lot of sense.
So you did a great job.
Did we answer his question?
I would say teamwork, Todd, of dragging that out. Thank you. We did answer it because you said any gas hose will work. And I put it in the show notes below, a link to all the options you have. And spoiler, a lot of that is cross use anyways. I use what is that blue 5/16 line is what I use on all my flow control event faucet lines because I'm trying to avoid restriction from the tubing. So I use a much bigger inner diameter tubing than I would.
But you're talking about liquid.
Yeah, I know. But I'm saying though, that same blue one can be used for gas as well. I could have used red. What I'm getting at is people might go in there and go, well, wait a second. Isn't that also for liquid? You can use it for both. That tubing
so just to let you know that it's dual durometer. So the inside portion of the red and the blue one are actually clear. So you're really using clear hose for the liquid to pass through on all of them.
Yeah, and that's in the product listing. It's a cool little photo that you took, Todd, of the dual durometer, like just showing just the durability, the thickness of this tubing. The
durometer means the how hard it is. So that inner part that's clear is much harder than the outer part, so that it doesn't permeate, flavors and smells and stuff.
Yeah, it's rigid. Yep. It's more rigid. It is not a rigid. But anyway, I'm digressing. Ken, thank you so much for submitting that question. A reminder, if you text our hotline or email joshua@homebrewhappyhour.com, you still get yourself a $15 gift card when I use it on a future episode. But hear me out. Be my hero. I would love you forever. Me love you forever. I don't think that's the quote. Call it in to 325-305-6107. Leave us a voicemail question when I use it on a future episode. Get yourself a $25 gift card to kegconnection.com. Like our third question, it's a voicemail. It's our buddy Joe Whiting.
Hola, mis amigos. Joe Whiting aquí. My question involves a topic we all hate, bacteria in a fermenting batch. I was fermenting Todd's English Brown, and all was going well. I usually keg it 10 days, 2 weeks tops. Less of pressure fermenting, but I got busy with other stuff. This was a non-pressure batch. At 18 days in, all looked fine. I was fermenting in a clear bucket, so I could monitor it almost daily. But when I went to transfer to a keg on day 20, a well-developed case of Pellicle had formed over the top. I sent Joshua a pic from the web that almost mirrors mine. I was very conservative in the transfer, leaving about a half a gallon of wort in the fermenter. So I hopefully didn't get any bad stuff into keg, but who knows. I pressurized it immediately, force carbed it, and cold crashed it. I tasted it when I checked the final gravity, expecting the worst, but it seemed okay. Am I wasting my time? Is it going to go bad? Should I just dump it or keep checking it for off flavors? It wouldn't be the first batch I've had to dump, but I was really looking forward to this one. Pellicle is really creepy looking stuff, and I don't want to poison myself just because I'm too cheap to cut my losses. Anyway, what say you three? Keep up the good work, guys. The show is always informative.
My man, Joe, we always appreciate hearing from him. It is a bummer when you see Pellicle, when you weren't looking for Pellicle, you weren't trying to grow Pellicle. This is not the Pellicle growing happy hour. I don't think any three of us have ever purposefully done it. Even Todd, who is the most adventurous in his fermentation adventures, does not or has not ever brewed a sour to my knowledge on purpose. But I'm going to throw it to you first, James, because I guess the thought exercise here is, can your leftover and the fermenter stuff get infected and the stuff you had already transferred have not been infected? If that, and I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Like, is it possible that something got into that fermenter after the transfer that caused that? Or is it a lost cause? Like, probably not, bro. Everything was probably infected. It's just now showing itself in the fermenter first.
Yeah, the 2 times that I had pellicles in a batch of beer was that little stainless steel conical that Todd had. And I think that I traced it down to some really bad welds on the inside of the fermenter. So it was kind of, if you got little holes, it's porous. If the weld's porous, then it can harbor that bacteria. And you can sanitize, you can do whatever you want to, and it'll still come back. So you might, if it's a metal fermenter, you might check that. It could be lying in the disconnector or the hose, or that stuff's kind of hard to track down. You just make sure you sanitize it, everything's clean, and then sanitize it really well. And if you do happen to have a transfer hose or something, just make sure it needs to be sanitized and clean too. And
in that case, do you know, like, was it infected from day one, or like when fermented?
No, it showed up after high krausen.
But before you transferred, had transferred any out. So if you had to make a guess, would you say he's getting lucky without off flavors yet? What's in the keg is probably infected.
Yeah, that's possible, and it could have been also the keg itself too. Could be because you remember we had that batch of lemon drop pills, and it got infected just sitting in a hot warehouse. So we had one keg that didn't, and we had one keg that did. If you remember,
I do, absolutely,
because we served that one keg no problem. We pulled the other one out, and it had a flaw in it. So a lot of times I think it's the vessel it's going in.
Right. And like in his circumstance, what I'm hoping for his sake, because his infection showed itself in his primary fermenting vessel, but it hasn't revealed itself in the final keg that he's serving out of, because he did, he said he left about a gallon in his fermenter. So I don't know the chemistry behind or chemistry and or biology.
I mean, if it's infected, it's infected. I mean, the stuff you're seeing on the top just shows up, I think, because of when it's exposed to oxygen. Like if it wasn't exposed to any oxygen, it could still be infected and you wouldn't see those.
And or taste it? Or like
no. I mean, I mean, the beer itself is infected. So, you don't leaving a gallon doesn't really help because it's the whole thing's infected.
Right. But right. And I'm saying though, he saw the English brown recipe we sent out. He saw the infection, so he would taste.
But he's what I'm saying is he's not really seeing the infection per se. Is that those infections, when they're exposed to oxygen, they make that stuff on the top.
So he's getting lucky.
When it's closed, it didn't have any O2 on it. It's just CO2.
So he's getting lucky then that it doesn't taste bad yet? Is that because he?
Yeah, I mean, it may be fine. It may start to develop an off taste. Whatever it is,
gotcha.
It's not going to hurt him.
Well, yeah,
I'll get stuff
because that's how sours are fermented.
So just drink it, and if it becomes sour, it'll be Todd's first sour brown ale.
You could have a hit on his hands.
Yeah, that's right.
It reminds me, I'll digress because I do that. It does remind me of that brewery that used to be kind of local to y'all. That the guys obviously had
butterscotch Kolsch.
Yes, the butterscotch
Kolsch.
It was great. And remember, they marketed it and they weren't even kidding. The guy was being dead serious. Grandma's butterscotch blonde, limited run.
Limited run, we probably can't reproduce it, actually.
I just remember, I think that brewery ended up moving out of the area.
So we're going to, I think, Joe, you should call it Todd's Sour Brown if you start to develop a taste.
And
send me a sample. I want to try Todd's Sour Brown.
I was just about to say, you might like that, right? It might actually, you like sours. I remember when we all went to.
I would not, that's a broad statement.
You've enjoyed.
I have enjoyed a sour before, and I like some of the milder ones. I mean, I have liked them before, but I can really hate them too.
Well, James,
Yeah, me too.
remember James in Portland when they some listeners of the show took us to Great Notion, I believe was the name of it. And
Yeah.
the sour place only. And Todd was having the time of his life, and you and I were being polite.
Yeah.
I think you actually did say the blueberry one wasn't awful. I think that was your exact quote. You're like, oh, that's not awful. And I was like, you're a liar. You're a liar. No, they're probably great people, great brewery. There's one here in town called Blue Owl. A friend of mine gave me some, and I was like, bro, I appreciate it, but it's just not my thing. It's not that it's not that it's people making, like, they're not bad brewers. This is what they were going for, and I don't like the end result. That's like, when people don't compliment my cooking, it's okay. I didn't do it for you. I did it for me. But for Joe's thing, yeah, he kind of answered his own question in regards to, before you dump it, Joe, continuously taste it, because you will not get poisoned by it. It's not, there are people who do this on purpose. So you're not going to actually hurt yourself. And God forbid you have to dump a batch. Like James already brought up the lemon drop. I almost heard other grown men crying when they were hearing James pouring out a whole keg, because it was in the bathroom there in Portland at the whatever that convention center is called. Wasn't it Portland, or was it Rhode Island?
Yeah, it was Portland.
It was Portland.
I swear the guy in the stall next to me is probably wondering what the hell I had for breakfast.
Because at first, like, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. But yeah, when it came out that it was a dumping of a keg, everyone just had a moment of silence. It was so.
And I turned around, there was a whole bunch of people behind me just shaking their head, looking at the toilet. So,
I mean, it happens. It happens. See, and that's why I didn't know if Joe's, where this would be reverse. When you did that competition where we did the podcast from Oster Blues in Austin, rest in peace.
Yeah, that's where I got this shirt.
Oh yeah, you're wearing the shirt. So, but remember though, they dogged on it because there was an infection in your keg was phenomenal. We went back to headquarters, drank from the keg because you were worried. Oh my God, is the batch infected? And it wasn't. It turned out to be the bottle that had the issue that they received.
Well, no, I don't even know if I buy that, because the same time I filled those bottles, I did a 6-pack for Todd because he had a family get together, and Todd told me they all tasted fine. So I don't know what was.
I'm down with that.
I know
conspiracy.
Everybody says that. That not my, but it was. Who knows? Maybe it was. Maybe it wasn't.
No, I'm down with that conspiracy. They switched bottles and scorecards. I believe that. It was a bunch of drunks.
They're held on with rubber bands. So I mean, if you one thing I noticed, I don't know about y'all did, but when we looked through the glass and saw the judges, they had more than one bottle on the table, and I don't know how they kept track of each one.
And they look,
when we do it, we do one at a time, and only one at a time.
Yeah.
But I pointed it out to you.
Yep. I remember.
I think Joe was in that podcast too, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was 3. Yeah, Todd wasn't there. It was Joe. That's right.
Yeah. Because I was pointing out, how are they keeping track of all these bottles?
I'm glad y'all figured that out, because I was like, I don't know what the hell y'all are talking about.
James, it was me, because you pointed out, and I joked. I was like, oh my God, look at the 2 of those guys in there looked sloshed already. I was like, wait a second. Those are they real judges? Is that what judging is? Judging's just getting sloshed on other people's beer? I'm a judge. Oh. But anyway.
Especially if they're not certified and they're new and they're thinking, woohoo, I just get to drink beer all day.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said,
you got to watch how much you drink.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes. That's
Careful where you're going here, guys. We're going to be doing another alt.
Don't rain on our parade, right?
That's why. Well, that's why I do it in multiple days. And I did get a compliment from a bunch of people how we run the contest in regards to giving a fair chance to every entry that we can, and not trying to overdo it all in one day. Because, well, first off, most competitions aren't live streamed, so people have no idea the condition their beer is being judged in. Did it sit out all day of the fridge because they just lined up all the entries? Did they, did they leave it too cold? Or there's a bunch of factors that can go into changing.
Well, that, and they're probably just the sheer amount they have to judge in one day is way more than what we do.
Exactly. And that's difficult too, in my opinion. We were taking 12-ounce bottles on the first day between 2 people and limiting ourselves as best as possible to 2 ounces, 2 to 3 ounces. Yeah. It's difficult to really judge a beer for me off of 2 ounces. So every now and then, you might, that's why I give us the leeway of, hey, we're going to have 2 first round days when we have a full competition. That way, every beer gets a fair shot from us to judge and give us your opinions. But then, again, we're not real judges, so why do you care? But anyways, Joe, thank you so much for submitting the question. One final reminder, if you're like Joe or if you're like Nate and you want to get yourself a $25 gift card to catconnection.com, then call in a voicemail question to 325-305-6107. Have I mentioned I'm sort of desperate? So it'll probably get played on a future episode and you'll get yourself that $25 gift card to catconnection.com. Alternatively, if you're like our buddy Alex from Texas and you're like, I don't like the sound of my voice, that's fine. Text that hotline or email me, joshua@homebrewhappyhour.com, and you'll still get a $15 gift card, which I think is pretty good. Alex from Texas wrote in. He said, hello, gang. A couple of questions for you before I jump into pressure fermentation. How would I know if a fermenter can handle pressure? I found a few stainless steel conicals on Facebook Marketplace, but it doesn't mention anything in the listing about being used for pressure. Since it's stainless, am I good to go? I know that glass is always off limits, but what about plastic fermenters? Let me know if you use this on the pod, Alex. I will right out the gate say, I know because of what James owns in the brew room that Blickman, stainless does not mean it is always okay to pressure. Like if you added pressure to Big Bertha, it would be a massive bomb, would it not?
Yeah. There'd be portions of the ceiling on the floor.
And I don't know why I always made the assumption, because kegs can handle pressure. And so I'm just like, oh yeah, stainless steel must be able to, but that's not a true statement. With stainless stuff, it's more in the lid than it necessarily is in the body, or is it the kind of stainless? Do you know the answer to that?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think that for that kind of pressure, I think when we interviewed John Blinkman, he talked about, over a ton of pressure. And it's hard to contain if you're running thinner stainless steel. Because the Big Bertha's got the same basic clamp as the conical that we get from Spike. But the lid's also, if you notice, it feels a little heavier. And it's also smaller in diameter. So you don't have that square footage on the lid that's pressure is rated by pounds per square inch. So it's amazing when you do the calculations, really how much pressure is against that seal.
Yeah.
And it's just because it's stainless steel doesn't mean it's got to be certified for pressure. We had a guy send us an email the other day, if you remember, and he was like, I need your help setting up this pressure fermentation. The first thing I noticed, he was using one of the Spike conicals with wire clamps on the lid. And I thought, well, that's
disaster.
A time bomb.
Yeah. Potential disaster.
So you got to make sure.
So, Todd, is this one, like if you were doing the show, here's how I imagine it would happen. You take this question, it'd be a 5-second answer because you'd say, well, just consult what the manufacturer says. Is that like the best, is that the best practice?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be rated, like the glass carboys that I use for transferring liquid over from one to the other are rated at 0, right? So I do them at like 3 PSI because I experience tells me they will handle that. If you ever were going to test one, test anything for pressure and see what it would hold, it's extremely important that you fill it completely full of water before you test it. You don't ever want to test something with air because air makes a bomb.
Air can compress.
Yeah, and it also, when it comes apart, it comes apart, right, and flies across the room. Whereas with water, that's why they use water to hydro things. So a great example of that would be to rehydro the fermenters that you use a lot. I mean, I didn't say Fermzilla because there's like 3 different ones.
Oh, right.
To hydro test those, they say fill it completely full of water and pump it up to, I don't remember what. Don't do what I'm saying because I don't remember exactly, but fill it up to 45 PSI or something like that. And then if it holds, then it's rated again for another year at 15 PSI, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And here, do you though, because I've seen you do this when we get a soda bottle from the store for the sake of making a small batch of soda water for me when because I do the alcoholic drink of gin and soda most of the time when I'm up at the ranch, and sometimes we got to make a little batch. And I noticed though, you don't ever look for a rating if it's on the shelf and it's fresh. Is that you just assume it was rated and okay because you've shaken that in my face.
If it had carbonated liquid in it, so
okay.
If I take a bottle that had club soda or Coca-Cola or anything like that, then of course it was rated for that carbonated beverage. And again, if it's full of liquid, it's not dangerous like if it's full of air.
No, okay, no, that's a good point. You're right. Yeah. You've never shaken a 2-liter bottle at me that was not completely full of water. That is a good point. I guess I shouldn't be so
actually a good idea. I should try that.
Yeah, I wouldn't think you'd want to use an actual water bottle because if you notice, the plastic's a lot thinner.
So thin, yeah.
Than a soda bottle. Like you take a 12-ounce soda, like bottle of soda, and then you have the packs of water. The plastic feels twice as thin.
Oh my God,
they don't have to hold pressure.
That is a great point that I'll get to put the disclaimer out because we do sell a crap ton of sparkling water kits. The soda carbonating kits and those Topo Chico packs. But we sell a crap ton of them, and people will ask like, oh, if it fits on any kind of 2-liter thing. But you're right, James. Don't just get a thing of still water and try to put that cap on and use that because you're right. The difference of the thickness of those plastics is unmistakably noticeable. Like you get a normal still water thing and it's like, oh yeah, it's easy to crunch, but
there's no pressure on it, so they don't need to be. And some of those water bottles are actually designed to decompose a little faster, so that's some of that plastic's paper thin.
Yeah,
because they don't need to be.
Yeah, it would be awful. But not to be boring, Alex, I do like drawing out questions, but you 100% find out, like if it's a Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, something secondhand, the person selling it should be able to tell you where it came from in regards to manufacturer or where even they bought it from. If they don't know the manufacturer, if it's not plastered on the front of it like most branded pieces of gear are nowadays, if they say, oh yeah, I got it from Care Connection, call the retailer and then find out like, hey, this fermenter you sell on, is it rated for pressure? That's just first step. Second step, you have supercomputers in your pockets. We all work on them every day. Utilize homebrewtalk.com, utilize reddit.com, utilize Googler, use the old Google machine, and you can find out pretty quick if what you're trying to use is going to be able to be used as you intend. Because the worst case scenario is you spend the money on something and it just doesn't work out for what you want. Actually, pardon me, the worst case scenario is you create a bomb and you die. That would be the worst case scenario. The minor inconvenience is I spent some money and now I can't use it for pressure. But yeah, because like James said, I think that guy was lucky that he emailed you, James, and we got to him first, because that could have been disastrous for this poor fellow. It basically trying to ferment on, like you said, it wasn't a spike. I think it was the anvil or the SS. It was an SS brew bucket. That's what it was. Ooh, that could have been bad. Ooh, that could have been bad.
But to be fair, those clamps were so weak that it probably wouldn't have done anything but just started and seeping out the lid,
And the brew bucket was the one that was giving y'all infections years ago too, right? It's not that piece of equipment. I'm just saying, small world. My brain makes connections that way.
And it had the same kind of clamps on the lid. It had just the little bale wire clamps with the handle.
You had already known like that. It wasn't. Yeah, absolutely. Anyways, Todd.
So a 2-liter bottle. I'm thinking, what are those on the shelf? Do you have any idea? I'm thinking 40 or 50 PSI when you in the grocery store at room temperature.
Okay.
So, and I know my dad is a chemical engineer. He has drilled into my head that pressure vessels have to go to like 3 or 4 times their working pressure. So I'm pretty confident you could take one to 150 PSI.
No.
So next time you're here, Josh.
That's going to be
we're going to try to hit. Let's just try to be conservative. We're going to try to hit 125 and 1.
Oh Lord, you know what?
You hold it while I fill it.
That's
like
almost
this.
Yeah. That's almost as bad as your beer roulette idea for a video. Do you remember this idea, James? He wants me to do.
No.
I still have the beer y'all want me to drink that you gave me. It's sitting on the shelf. I
remember there was a bet involved in that.
Yeah,
$100. No, it wasn't even a bet.
He was going to just pay me.
I'm just going to give him like $100 to drink.
Yeah, but talking about Joe Whiting worried about Pellicle, that stuff could kill me. What if it has botulism? I could die. Anyway,
it's got alcohol in it.
Definitely. I definitely would like you to sign a document before you.
Yeah. The old Burns Ranch waiver. Gotta update it to include anything you ingest here on property. And, but no, his idea was he wanted to get like a Kolsch and then like 10 or 11 really awful beers, and I'm just spinning the thing like roulette, like on a Lazy Susan, and then just have to drink whatever's in front of me. He's like,
that could definitely be one of those beers then.
Another sour.
Oh, there you go, James. We'll put the. Oh, that's brilliant. That could
really
be one.
Is, James.
That is you're messed up.
I think we just came up with our next video project.
James, you're messed up.
We could go to Specs and we could get some of the nastiest sounding beer and then do just a roulette wheel of beer.
Okay. See, James likes the idea too.
That's a great idea. Yeah, that'd make for a great YouTube video.
Well, when next time you're there, get whatever you think will be awful. Keep the receipt so Homebrew Happy Hour will pay you back. Let's do it because I'm not going out of my way to buy that beer. I'm just being transparent.
Oh, and I've definitely got some at my house that we could use, James.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
he's talking about some gifted. Yeah, I won't even go into details, but I know exactly what you're talking about. The ones that some of your family said smelled and or tasted like barf. Was that one?
That was actually one that we brought back when we were in Colorado. Josh,
I thought you were talking about the gift. Okay, my bad.
But I was talking about the gift. But the one that Michael and my dad said tasted and smelled like barf was actually that one that we brought back, because we had one that we really liked. I was like, I actually like this beer, and he was like, oh, you should try this one. So I paid like $20-something for it.
Oh, I do remember that. That was in 2015. Yeah. That was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago. I still remember how bad it tasted, though.
I still remember how fun that trip was, and how awesome of a host Matt Meadows from New Belgium is. I think he's still there. I think he's still there.
He is. I actually
ruined Fat Tire.
I know. Yeah, right. We should.
I texted him the other day just to see how, or emailed him. I don't remember which, and he responded right back, said he was doing good.
Yeah, so. He was the best host we've ever had at all the gazillion breweries we visited over the years. Matt Meadows. Top notch. Let's go back to New Belgium. We'll ask him in person, James. Actually, we do. I do need. I'll wrap it up here soon, but we do got to reach back out to the AHA. They've been ignoring me for press passes for Great American Beer Festival because James, you did say you drive with me if we get the passes. So you and I, so I can take all my gear because we would also.
No, you're just gonna. I mean, y'all have to take me too.
Oh yeah, we would drive, but you're going to be picked up from there for that.
Yeah. So it's a one-way trip with me.
Yeah, great. But
no deposit, no return.
Because James and I would also get killed a bunch of birds with one stone because there are CM Becker customers up there. We're going to do some showcase videos of them. We really if you go to cmbecker.com, go to the customer showcase stuff. We're trying to do more of that because the products are out there and being used, and we're just trying to help spread the word. When people get them installed in their draft systems, they are ecstatic about it, and so we're just trying to capture that and be able to show it, because like even our buddies at Hubertus who only use CM Becker faucets now on all their installs have texted me all the time. Oh yeah, this restaurant chain here in St. Louis says they'll never use anything else, and you know, like we just need to start. I need to. When I say we, that collectivist crap. No, it's my fault. I need to start doing a better job. So we decided, hey, let's try to get into Great American Beer Festival and visit some people along the way. So that's all future content down the road, but that's all I've got for this week's show, my friends. Alex, thank you for submitting that. If you have any comments or anything, obviously I'd love for you to go to youtube.com/homebrew happy hour and leave it in the comments below this actual episode. While you're there, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, all that. Or if you want to get yourself some money, call in your feedback, call in your questions to 325-305-6107. When I play your voicemail, get yourself that gift card. Guys, I appreciate y'all's time this week. I went a little over because I digressed a lot, but thank you so much for your patience, and I'll see y'all soon.
Thank you. Have a good day.
And that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, you could go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on that submit a question link at the top of the page. Or even better, have I mentioned enough on this show that you could call it in to 325-305-6107 and get yourself a $25 gift card to kegconnection.com. Thank you to our show sponsors like Muntons Malt Premium Grains for a better brew day. If you aren't already brewing with Muntons, give them a try by joining our Trub Club at a recipe receiving level. For the best hops available online, give our friends at hopsdirect.com a visit and pick up what you need for your next brew day. Also, get a pack of Imperial yeast along with delicious recipes from us when you join the Trub Club. Go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour and come brew with us. On behalf of Todd Burns, James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thanks for listening.